What is up, everyone? What is going on? You are now rocking with JR Wisdom and my lovely co-host, the beautiful Avery Woodley right now. How are you doing, Avery?
I am doing great. How are you?
You know it's always the greatest day of my life. Thanks
I
for
love
asking.
that. I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that. Instead of be like, oh, I'm good. I'm like, you know what? It's the greatest day of my life. It's
Yeah.
like an affirmation.
Right. That's all it is an affirmation. You putting it out there right off top. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So, I'm glad you could join me again. And I know that this is going to be an incredible show. If
Yes.
you remember Avery, you guys may already be following Avery, subscribe to her channel and things like that. And if you haven't right now, take the time to go ahead and hit that subscribe button
Mhm.
to subscribe to Avery Woodley's channel, as well as follow her on Instagram. All the links are in the description, as well as the title.
Thank you.
So we got a lot to cover today, guys. We're going to be on here. This is an hour show. We're starting this new concept. As you can see on the thumbnail, let's talk about it. We're definitely going to talk about it. We're talking about relationships. And we're definitely going to be talking about sex, intimacy, and things like that. And who better than not to say anything, but basically this then the opinionated Avery Woodley, who you guys may
Yes.
already know. And I'm dying to pick her brain, and we're gonna go back and forth and discuss a few topics that you guys may view as taboo or just don't like to discuss, whether it be in the male space or female space. So with that being said, before we jump into it, make sure you guys hit that like button
Please.
one
Like,
time.
like,
Yes.
like.
Yeah, one time for the algorithm. Shout out also while you guys are entering the chat. Make sure you shout out where you're from, shout out your sex, gender, what have you, male, female, whatever you identify as.
Yes.
And we love to hear from you, you know what I'm saying? So, Avery, obviously we're co-hosting this beautiful thing here and
Yes,
about
we
to
are.
inform a few people or some people who are tuned in this evening. So when we first talked about it, we were addressing about the whole relationship and expectations and things like that.
Hmm.
And we kind of were talking about, many people go into things and they maybe not expressing what it is in terms of what they expect from their other partner, or they expect things too soon
Hmm.
and things of that nature. So do you believe, like, just right off top, when you start dating someone, when you initially start dating someone, is there initial expectations there? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so there are initial expectations that are just, I would say, kind of like a prerequisite, right? Right. So,
Mhm.
what you would pick up on to me in earlier conversations, like you would talk with that person before you go out on a date or or hang out. So, of course, like, do we communicate, as far as make, hey, I'm gonna call you back, just like, like little stuff, right? Is
Mhm.
it, is this guy a gentleman? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it what I need in a man, and not going too deep? But I know off bat, like I am attracted to more masculine, men who lead in their masculinity, right? Just
Mhm.
because since I have been connected to my feminine, I'm like, oh, this is where I belong. This is where I feel good at. So I want a man who's kind of like, upfront. So there are certain things that I kind of like expect in the beginning, but it goes both ways. There should be things that he should expect of me, because then we know if we have any type of connection to where, okay, let's go on a first date. So I think
Absolutely.
there's like subtle expectations, but nothing like he has to do this, he has to do that, he has to do that. What
So
about
is
you?
that is that is well, I'm gonna before I answer that, is that chivalry like a big thing? Like, let's just, because I know the first date usually just it's the first impression. Is chivalry like a big thing? I know you mentioned masculinity in terms of
You
that.
know what? It is, right? So it's not something that I'm like waiting and sitting back with like a mental notepad, like, let me see if he does this. Let me see if he does that. You know what I'm saying? It's not that at all. But there are certain things I expect, like, are you gonna pick me up? Are we meeting? You know what I'm saying? Well, initially if it's a first date and I don't know him, we're meeting in
Right.
public. But if I walk to the door, I'm just gonna kind of like walk a little bit slower, so to give him time to like open it, right? And if he doesn't, and he's like waiting for me to open it, that could possibly be a turnoff. You know what I'm saying? But it also depends on this, the situation. Not like if he's at a valet or something like that and it's raining. But yeah, like if he's like, okay, not forward and not taking the lead, it's little stuff that I will notice. So I want him to open the door. I do expect a man to pay on the first date.
Okay.
I don't care if we go for coffee. So I'm not that person. I don't care if we go do some outdoor whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I don't expect to put my hands in my pocket at all. Like at all. And if
Wow.
he's sitting there like, I'll be like, okay, you know what I'm saying? It just I don't expect that at all. But that's why I'm saying I'm not extreme. Like, oh, it has to be this. No, coffee could be anything. It could even be a free thing, right? Like, hey, if it's nice out, let's meet in the park. I know you work out. Let's work out together. I don't even
Right.
expect him to have to take me to a place where it has to be paid for initially the first time. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, the whole chivalry thing and stuff like that, that is, I think it's big because I find that sexy and I find it attractive.
Mm. I'm glad. I'm glad because some women, you know, what's funny is I've encountered. I'm not saying I've dated tons
Mm-hmm.
of women, but I've encountered so many women, and I don't know, they could be lying, but they'll say that there's no type of chivalry. Almost all dates that I've been on, they always say that guys don't do that. You know, guys don't don't open the doors for them, don't do
Mm-hmm.
anything. And I'm just like, and do you proceed? And they just like, yeah, I'm just become accustomed to it, you know, from opening doors and things like that. So it's
Right.
like a dying art, I guess, you
So
know.
there's two things I believe. It is a dying art, and I'm gonna tell you why. Recently, I was at this outdoor space in St. Louis, like back in May when it was like prom season, right? So everybody goes there and takes pictures or whatever.
Hmm.
And I think we have been there like we have been there working out. So it's like crowded, you're driving through the park and it's fountains. Anyway, the windows were down and it was a young man and his date
Right.
going back to the car. I guess their family had taken pictures. She's on the side of the car and she stops. And he was like, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And she was like, you're supposed to open the door. And you could tell that she almost felt uncomfortable saying it, but that somebody had told her, like, hey, he's supposed to open the door for you or whatever. She
Right.
was like, you're supposed to open the door for me. He was like, man, no, get out of here. You better get in the car.
And
And I
what
was
is-
like, dang. So you have situations like some people haven't been taught, right? Like
mm,
on his side. But I know a lot of men or guys who have stopped doing that as well because with, the women, the independent, strong women, I can do it all on my own. They actually get insulted when a man is doing that chivalry, right? So you have some guys that are like, you know what? No, because when I open, they're like, don't open the door for me. I can open my own door. Don't do this for me. I can do it. No, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? They try to prove a point here, slapping their debit card or going to the bathroom and paying for the meal before it's over to prove a point like I'm letting you know I'm here, but I don't need you. I don't need you to do anything for me. And it has turned a lot of men off. So, and they have incurred, a lot of women like that, not just one or two. So if you think if you have dated the past 6 women or 7 women, and they all do that, then you're like, well, dang, is that what's keeping me from, going whatever further or whatever to be the case? So they stop doing it. So you have a lot of women that have turned men off from doing it and people who just have not been taught it, right?
right. I've never had that happen. I've never
Yeah,
had a woman do any of those things, and I can believe it. Where that I'm like, I would think that something would go off in a woman's mind to say, "Hey, don't do that. Don't say that. This is a
right.
turn off. Like, just have at least pretend have your representative there to speak
Uh-huh.
for you temporarily, but just to be like, I'm gonna go ahead and pay. Unless you just weren't into the guy, I could understand
Right.
it. You just wanted to get up out of there. But man, like,
But that shows on your part, like we've talked briefly about like the work that you've done as a man. So you probably attract, you're around women who are at least acting like, you know what I'm saying? You attract women that have some sense and are like, no, but you do. I've heard that from a lot of guys, and they're like, no, they're trying to prove a point to let me know, like, I make my own money, I can do this, this, and this.
Avery, my life's a movie. When it comes to women, my life's a movie. I mean, I hear you saying that, but you know, I
I
attract.
can't wait to hear some of
Yeah,
this one day.
you know, I mean, I think we're going to talk about based on some of these things we discussed. We're going to talk about a few of these things, but my life's a movie when it comes to women. It's not like a simple, hey, she may let me open the doors, but there's something lurking around the corner or something that's about to go down.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but that's news to me as far as that. I just
Yeah.
feel when if a woman does that, I feel like that's automatic turn off to a man. You know what I'm
As it
saying?
should be. It should be a red flag. The
Right.
red flags aren't just for guys. You all, should have your red flags when it comes to us as well. And that's what I've said. That's a red flag that you are going to have a battle the entire relationship.
Got it. So you're looking at you. We're looking for those things on the first date. I know you asked me. You asked me something. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
just.
So, what do you expect on the first date?
So I expect the woman to be on time. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? I expect her to. I mean, I'm just being honest. I
No,
expect
yeah.
you
Be on
to.
time. Be respectful.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
respectful. You know what I'm saying? Because I look at it as disrespect if she just basically, or come with that 10 minutes prior. Oh, I'm not going to make it. This happen, or you
Yeah.
flaking, and things
Yeah.
like that. That's like the worst. Which me,
Mm-hmm.
I've been flaked on, and so is a lot of guys, but I've been flaked on several
Right.
times. Basically, I mean, at the end of the day, she could probably care less because if she flakes, she really doesn't.
Right.
Whatever. Some things do happen, but that's very important. A woman who can communicate, while we're on this date.
Mm-hmm.
A woman that has some manners, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying, is just not like that's engaging. Because I like to say that I'm a conversationalist, so I like to
Mm-hmm.
talk. But as I always tell guys on my channel, the goal is you're supposed to only talk 25% of the time. You're basically letting the
Right.
woman talk because that's just how I feel. A woman should be talking. You carry on. It's just like you're the interviewer. She's the interviewee, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Women
Yeah.
like to talk, and I'm not, no offense, but women like to talk.
We do.
And what was the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie?
Mm-hmm.
People in general like to talk about themselves. If you get somebody to talk about themselves, they did the whole experiment back when they first invented phones. The word that they constantly heard over and over and over was I this, I that, or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So, so on and so forth. So I feel that you can kind of tell the energy. And I
Mhm.
completely understand. There's been dates that I've been on where I'm like, I don't want to see this woman again.
Right.
She may be beautiful, but she's just, so it's just having that conversation, but definitely to actually respect my time and not play around and play games and, all those things like that. And besides, probably, I think the more you have an abundance mindset, which is getting on to something else, that you won't tolerate certain things. And the older you get, you just
Right.
don't want to tolerate certain things. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
it's very simple for me, you
Yeah.
know. I think that I always say that guys, tolerate a lot more than a woman will tolerate when it comes to dating and things like
Hmm.
that, up until the point where you get her attached. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's that's something
Right.
as far as that. My question to you though is,
Okay.
do you feel like when you're dating, is there a point, or what's your thoughts on who should push the relationship forward in terms of making it a relationship? Do you think it's the man's idea or the woman's idea for it to become a relationship, not marriage, just a relationship?
I think it's usually the woman.
Hmm.
I think
I agree.
I think it is usually the woman. And I'm not saying that men aren't relationship people, but it is usually the woman because, sometimes guys are a little bit more laid back. So it's just like they're more like, okay, well, we have an understanding. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're moving a certain way, because I've talked to him about this. Well, I
Hmm.
expect if we're moving a certain way and I'm doing certain things for you and you're doing certain things for me, it just should be understood that you shouldn't be out here doing this, moving like this with any other man. It's
Right.
like it's like an understanding type of thing. Um, Depending on how you guys just naturally interact, and depending on your age and all of that. But when it comes to the situation where it's like, okay, so what are we? Are we just, friends?
Right.
Are we just sneaky links? Are we just cuddy buddies? Whatever people say now,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, what is this? Or do I want more? Or, I want more. What are you willing to do? And all that kind of stuff. I think it's more like on the woman as far as pushing it and putting a label
I
on it,
agree.
so to
I
speak.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, because the way I was taught, as
Mhm.
later on in my 30s, obviously in life, is that, you know, women are about nurturing and
Mhm.
love and, relationships. Not that men aren't, like you said, and
Right.
men are more about direction, security, pushing the needle forward, things like that.
Hmm.
And besides, I think, and I tell this, and women argue with me a lot about this. is that once a man starts talking about that, talking relationship stuff with a woman, she gets turned off, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be a woman's idea. When you start saying, I want to make you my woman, I want to make you my girlfriend. I know Will Smith said it in his book where he called Jada one day and was like, I don't know if I know I was telling you about the book, but he called Jada one day. It
Mm-hmm.
was like, are you seeing anybody? She was like, no. All right, you my woman now. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? He told Jada like that. So I just feel like, and he's different than the average guy, obviously, but I
Right.
just feel like if you're trying to do that with a woman, she may feel like she's losing her freedom. You know what I'm saying? To a certain extent, or this guy is trying to. It has to be her idea. Is
Right.
what
But
I
see,
feel.
and to me, this is funny because that goes, even though you haven't experienced this as far as women's, saying like, no, I can open the door for myself, but that kind of goes hand in hand with that same mentality is like, okay, well, if you say something about a relationship, now all of a sudden I'm losing,
Mm,
my freedom and my identity, and you
right,
feel like you're about to be like you have a probation officer, right?
right.
So you feel like that if he wants to introduce a relationship, but then you want to skip the process and get a ring. And like that's it's like make your mind up. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you want this to? And that's a whole nother thing we may get into. But how do you want this to flow? Like,
Right.
set up a foundation of how this is going to flow because it's like sometimes you want me to take the lead, you want me to do this, you want me to do that, you want me to do this, but oh no, I don't want to lose my freedom.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to say certain stuff because it's a turn on. I'm telling you right now, as a grown woman, if I am seeing a man and we are vibing and I'm not seeing anybody else and I am like connecting with him, and if he calls me and says, like, hey, you're mine now, to me, that is so attractive and such a turn on. And I'm like, all right, Zaddy, but,
Really.
and I hate that word, Zaddy. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, Zaddy. Like I would be like, that's a man. You know what I'm saying? Got it. Like, it's good. I would not be like, oh my God, I can't believe, because to me it shows, and maybe because I've gone through a lot of work, so I don't see it as losing my freedom. I see it as somebody who's about to add to my life and help take me to another level. So I'm jumping on,
Mm.
it's like, let's go.
So at what point do you think that that transition normally happens? Because you hear these stories where people will be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, I knew at first sight, and we had a relationship the first day," or some people will say,
Right.
the 3 months, usually 90 days, or some people will say 30 days. Is there like
Mm-hmm.
a time frame? Because leading into that, you're dating. How often are you seeing each other? But what's your
Right.
thoughts on that?
Okay, so everybody has their theory and time frame and all of
Hmm.
that. Like, don't we all, right? And I
Yeah.
always say in the perfect world, in the perfect world, we're all like, oh, it should be like this. But we all know how, if you've really experienced life, right, and you're in tune with it, you know that life happens. Everything doesn't happen according to your timing.
Right.
There's times that you have a lot of people who are like that meet their soulmate or whatever, and they're at a moment when they said they were done dating. You know
Correct.
what I'm saying? I'm done with relationships. I'm done dating. And the other person saying the same thing, and they randomly meet. And these are people, a lot of people that I know like that have successful, healthy relationships,
Mm.
and that's how it happened. It was not plans or anything like that. So when it comes to the whole, like, 3 months, whatever, I really don't believe in that. I
Hmm.
do think, and just because of life, right? Once you experience life, like you said, when it comes to relationships, you get to a point where you know that what you're going to put up with, what you're going to tolerate, what you're not going to tolerate, what are your likes. So depending on that, when it comes to dating, that happens as well. As you have more experiences, you may know offhand, like if you're not watering yourself down out there
Right.
and you're not seeing every guy because you've been through experience, and now you know more of who you are as a woman or as a man, so you also know what you're looking for. You can instantly tell. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know sometimes a lot of men will say, like, no, I knew when I met her. I didn't say
Right.
nothing because I didn't want to scare her, but I
Yeah.
knew when I met her, she was my wife.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you have some women who are like, I knew that was not my husband, but it was. You know what I'm saying? Who like in the beginning, like, no, no, no. So I just think you have to go with the flow. I am big on energy. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And
Absolutely.
connection. I feel like you go with the flow and you don't necessarily push it or pressure anybody, but just let it flow and enjoy the time, of getting to know somebody. But also, if you connect and do some stuff off the bat, also don't beat yourself up with it and be like, oh, well, I read a book and it said you should
Yeah.
wait or you shouldn't do this. Give yourself some grace. But I mean, we're grown. Go with the flow.
Absolutely. And with that being said, guys, we have 60 people currently in here. It should be at least 50 likes. You guys Hit that like button. It's
Please.
free. Right now, as I'm talking, all you gotta do is hit that thumbs up. It's easy, like Sunday morning. So, don't think too much into it. Just hit that like button. We should have at least 50 since we got 60 in here. We're trying to get 100
Yes.
people up in here, man. I mean, excuse me, trying to get 100 people up in here.
Yeah,
And let's keep it
that's
going
fine.
up. This is the first episode. But anyway, so I always thought about that, being the whole relationship thing, and I agree
Right.
with you. I think exactly, if men say things too soon, it may scare a woman off, in my opinion, or
Hmm.
it'll turn her off. And that was something that I didn't really learn until my 30s.
Right.
For example, I think I was separated at the time,
Hmm.
and separated from my ex-wife,
Hmm.
and I was like 31, and I was dating a woman that was like 38,
Okay.
39. And obviously she had already done all this stuff. Women experience relationships at a faster rate in terms
Yes.
of, men do, and they learn quicker
Yes.
when it comes to these things as far as that. So she had already been divorced. She probably already been out there dating. So
Right.
when I, like, the second week, I was on some stuff like, so what, I asked her the question, like, so what are we? Not knowing at that
Yep.
time, not knowing, and she was I was like, man, this is her. This is it. And
Yeah.
I was like, yo, after we had already been having a good time hanging, and knowing that that's all she really wanted to do at the time, I was
Hmm.
putting the pressure on her. And
Yes.
at that moment, when I look back at it, I was just like, I just completely turned her off. We were late. We were on the couch watching
Uh
TV,
huh.
and with the "So what are we?
Yep.
What is this?" And she was like, and I could feel the energy. She was like, well, I
Yes.
don't like to put titles on stuff, blah blah
Right.
blah and stuff like that, da, da, da. And then everything just kind of went downhill
Yes.
after that, and she just kind of just backed off. So I was just like, and then when I learned all this stuff later on, I realized what it was that I did. But I made,
Hmm.
I ran into her, a couple years later, because we was talking off and on,
Uh
and
huh.
I did it. I did the right thing at that point. But
Right.
at that point, I was just like, I didn't know, and in
Right.
that moment, it was just like, so it's just
Yeah.
things that I think that a woman sets the pace when
Hmm.
it comes to that. Even though it's just like, why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that? But it's kind
Right.
of like turning her on, which I don't say that. Women, some women call it dark psychology and things
Right.
like that. But I don't know. I know I already asked you about that, but that was just an instance in terms of that
Right.
whole situation. So you could see, I'm assuming you could see where I was like,
But I have a question though when it came to that situation. Even
sure.
though, and I know you probably want to hit on, but even though you said that week two, right? You said it turned her off.
Mhm.
But week one or day one, did you know that she wasn't looking for anything more?
I don't think it was weak. So the situation was, I think it was like, this is probably like week. This is probably like a month in. I think, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying.
But did she
Um,
tell you that? You know what I'm saying? Like if she didn't say that to you, then how would you have, known? But if she was like, hey, like we're talking about expectations, right? If she was like, hey, I'm not looking for anything more than, some casual companionship, like we can hang out, we can go out, we can sleep together, but I'm not looking for a commitment more than that. Like if she had that conversation with you and then you're like, hey, so what are we? But if
yeah,
she never goes back to expectations and what you're looking for and what you're not looking for, if she never discussed that and had that conversation with you, then after like kicking it with her for a month, I don't really see anything wrong with you being like, so, especially if you're kicking it on
nah.
a regular basis.
So we never had that discussion.
Okay.
But I think her situation at that time was, she probably had just gotten out of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
She ran into a guy that had the same interests as her, taking her out, so on and so forth. You can never, I feel like, as a man, you can never be more into a woman than she is into you. And I hate to say it that way,
Right.
because it's just like, she's just like, this guy, oh, this guy is into me.
Mm-hmm.
Time to get ghosts. He's just coming on too strong. Like, she even told
Yep.
me like I was needy. Like, later on down the line, she was like, "You're
Yep.
just too needy." So,
Yep.
but basically, what it ended up being, she just wanted to have, she just wanted to feel it, because she would always ask me, What is it that? Why do you keep reaching out to me? What is it that you want from me? What are
Mm-hmm.
we doing? What are we doing here?" And I'd be like, yo, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, trying to, but
Mm-hmm.
she would always ask that like later on,
Mm-hmm.
after the fact. But the problem was I just came on too strong early on when it could
Right.
have been, which disrupted the polarity of things. It could have been a great relationship if I hadn't done that. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? But you can say woulda, coulda, if I did this, if I did that, but
Right.
it's a learning experience. You know what I'm
It
saying? We
definitely
never, to answer your question, we never discussed it. You know what I'm saying?
okay.
We never discussed it about
Right.
that. It was just dating and you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I feel that way when it comes to stuff. So we were talking about
Mm-hmm.
the time frame, right?
Yes.
So we say there's no time frame for that. We talked about the relationship aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
What about when it comes to gifts, money, things like that? At what point should you guys be in a committed relationship for that? Or what do you think? What do you think about that as far as expectations with stuff like that?
I don't think so. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a woman, because if I'm not, because if you keep going with these questions and if you go where I think you're going, all of my questions are really going to be consistent, right?
Right.
So and we'll get to that, you'll see what I'm saying. But like when it comes to like gifts and stuff like that, no, I don't believe you have to be in a committed relationship. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to do. Some people are just givers. Some people, like I know a lot of people that are givers and they feel good to give, even if
Yes.
it's like, you know, okay, I know I've noticed that when we hang out, she drinks a certain water. So I'm going to get her a case of her favorite water. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm going to get her some flowers just because. Or if you know that, like if he's saying like, oh, you know what, I lost my whatever, or I lost this or what, and you're like, okay, I'm picking up on this, I'm gonna get it for him, right? Or if he's like, this is my favorite cologne, just saying it, not like dropping a hint, and you decide to grab it for him or grab him his favorite body wash. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant, or if you want it to be something extravagant,
Right.
I think that's on you. If it's on your heart to do it, then do it. If that's what you like to do, then do it, Now, and this is a whole nother discussion when we get into that. Now, if you're doing it to buy someone's likes, if you're doing it to buy someone, because you want them to be into you or you want them to be attracted to you, or you're trying to push it in some way, unnaturally force it,
Hmm.
then that's a different issue. But that's nothing to do, that's something completely different. But no, if you want to, if you want to give gifts or do whatever, then it's your money. Do it. Do
So
it the best you
you
can.
don't feel like there's like a too soon to be doing things like, for example, let's just talk about, we're not talking about buying a purse or a Birkin or anything
Right.
like that or a new pair of shoes. In terms of buying, let's just say a gesture like flowers or roses or
Right.
cards, or for people who buy chocolates or
Mm-hmm.
edible arrangements.
Or
You don't,
edibles. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, edibles, right? You throw that in the basket. You don't you don't feel like there's like a point where it's too early for that?
No, because if when watching movies, and I know movies aren't like necessarily real life, but
Right.
even back in the day, let's go to Chivalry, right? You would have people that would go on dates and they may bring a flower. They bring flowers to the house,
Mhm.
or a flower. That's initially the first time. Or say you guys have done, it's 2022. Say you guys have conversed a lot online, or video chats or whatever, and you guys talk about like, oh, this is my favorite candle, or what are you doing, or what are you watching, or what do you eat, and you pick up
Right.
on that. And when you guys initially meet, or in the weeks following, you grab some of that stuff. I feel like it's thoughtful. I think that's thoughtful if you are doing that kind of stuff, especially if it comes through just conversation. You start to learn that person and you're listening to what they like, and you show up with something for them, that they're actually going to use. I feel that that's really thoughtful.
I agree. I think it's thoughtful. I just don't. I think that it's just not a lot of times appreciated.
Right,
Especially if you're not in a relationship. That's just
right.
my thoughts. I feel like, because there's been times where, and I don't want to call it in my simp days because I hate using that term, but in my days where I'm just like I didn't know any better, I would just buy because I'm like, okay, and it's not. I wasn't trying to buy a woman, but I was just like, let me give her some flowers. Let me,
Right.
we're texting back and forth. Yo, where do you work at or whatever? Not where do you work at, but basically, I'm gonna send you some flowers. Where can I send the flowers at?
Hmm.
That would be my corny line. You know, where do I send the roses?
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? I sent a woman some flowers as recently as last year,
Uh-huh.
and she went on Instagram. I mean, she didn't know because I thought she knew they were from me. You know what I'm saying? She went
And she's
on.
like, who sent these?
She just basically like went off. You know what I'm saying? She was like, yeah, sent me somebody sent me some flowers and they were all colorful, looking like they were from Mardi Gras and all this stuff like that. No, anybody who knows me know I don't like flowers. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like,
See, you remember? And I made a little video about this whole flower thing, and women were like, women aren't like that. We say thank you when it comes to flowers and stuff like that. Because a guy had gave me some at Trader Joe's, and it was just the cashier, but they had this policy where they can give flowers because I've seen them do it to a woman that just had a baby and they gave her some flowers. But I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't want to kill the moment from him. I didn't care why he was giving it to me. I didn't care. I was like, did you pay for this? I didn't care. I received it. You know what I'm saying? I
mhm,
received it because it was nice. And I don't want him to stop doing that in the future, whether it's for other customers or for a woman in his life, you know?
right, right,
Um, it's the thought that counts. That's the thing, though. You have so many women that are unhappy and picky and like, oh, I can't believe this and I can't believe that. And they have all of these unrealistic standards. And that's what I was saying, like chivalry, right? And I saw somebody in the comments said chivalry is dead and women killed it. It's the same thing when it comes to men opening the doors, flowers, doing certain things. Or I'm mean, like, oh, I can do that myself. Or like you sent the colorful flowers. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't care if they came from, they looked like a funeral home arrangement. If you sent flowers to somebody just because, then damn it, say thank you. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like instead of trying to go on social media, like, oh, he sent me this, he sent me that.
Yeah,
But then you'll end up with somebody who's sending you STDs and babies by other people. Like, I'm
yeah. I
about to go
totally,
off. Let me stop.
I no, I totally agree. But these are things that men, especially men who come into this space, they have to learn the hard way these things, and a lot of men get jaded. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
go that MGTOW way in terms of that, and they get really angry and frustrated because things like this happen and they don't know any better. And it's not I don't want to call it dark psychology. I just want to call it like, hey,
Right.
I think there's a time for certain things to occur regardless of how you feel. Because to be honest with you, a lot of guys do sometimes want to be in a relationship. A lot of guys
Yes.
want to be in a monogamous relationship, regardless of this whole pump and dump culture and
Right.
things like that. They want a woman that they can have on their arm, that they can take out, they can show the world, that they can do these things with. But it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
if I tell her these things, if I do things too soon, if I text too early, if I over text, if I send a good
Yes.
morning text, if I compliment her too much,
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm looking like an idiot. But we should all be authentic at the end of the day. I'm not
Right.
telling you not to be authentic, but it's just like I feel, and I had just from my experience, I had to learn. I would do all these things, and it would get me nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just get me rejected and ghosted and all these other things. Just me personally, and I'm just like, okay,
Right.
what is it that I'm supposed to do? Like, it's not. It never pushed me into the direction to be a quote unquote he-man woman hater. I never got, and I never will be to that point.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, where do you stand now? Do you still, since you've gotten rejected from doing those things, do you still do it naturally, or have you like fallen back from it?
So I feel like I would have to be in a relationship with a woman to do those things at this point now.
Okay,
Or
got
we would have to have a strong rapport in terms of dating
it.
at
Mm-hmm.
some point for me to do those things, because I just feel like it wouldn't be appreciated unless
Right,
you have to know, me personally, I have to know that you're into me for me to do those things for you.
right.
I wouldn't want to do those because I've done it, not too often, but I've done that because I just thought it
Mm-hmm.
was the thing to do, and
Right.
it definitely wasn't appreciated. And I've had conversations, whether, like I said, once again, whether women were lying or not, they said that it was never done they never got roses. They don't go on dates,
Uh-huh.
like nobody takes them on dates, all
Mm-hmm.
these other things. And I'm like, bro, like, I love to go out. You know what I'm saying? I love
Right.
to take my woman out. I love to do these things.
Like
You
we're
know,
supposed to lay up, but that's because, but they're accepting that, right? They're accepting people who just want to lay up and who don't want to go out and don't want to do this. So when they, sometimes when they get it, and no, some women just reject it because they're just rude, right? And there
right.
are some women, I am being honest, and they can hate me for saying it, but a lot of them don't like me already.
Come on.
Sometimes there's no pleasing us. Like you would literally have, if you walked on water, we'd be like, we didn't ask you to do that.
Yeah.
Why are you out there? You know what I'm saying? So for a lot of women, it's just no pleasing us because we want to put you through the ringer, or because we're unhappy. A lot of times it has nothing to do with you. We're unhappy and bitter. And also the idea and the level we put you on. We don't respect you enough. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, I don't need you. Men are so disposable nowadays, right? So it's like no pleasing us. But yes, there are a few who don't know how to accept and receive it because they've never gotten it, right?
Mm.
They've never gotten it with that. And then I would also say, because I was this person, when I wasn't connected to my feminine and I had this whole idea of like what a strong woman was and all of that, and I didn't know what my feminine energy was, right?
Right.
When men came on too soon, which now I know was probably right on time, or when they did certain things like flowers and stuff, I was like, I don't
Oh.
need that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Like I don't need that. It made me uncomfortable, and because I didn't know how to receive. When you're in your feminine, the feminine is receiving. We are
Right.
doers. We are receivers. So when a woman is disconnected from her feminine and leading in her masculinity, she cannot receive. That is one
Mm.
of the main components of being connected to your divine feminine, is being a receiver. So that's why men, listen to this. That is why a lot of women, they may not lead in their masculinity as far as like blatantly to where you can catch on to it. But if they can't receive from you and they have a problem receiving, it's because they're not truly connected to their feminine. Once I connected to it, and that's why the things that you're saying right now, JR, like, oh, it's like, hey, where do you work? Where can I send these flowers to? Or little thoughtful stuff that you used to do, and now you only do it when you're in a committed relationship. But me now, as a woman, listening to you say that, the woman that I am right now, this day, I'm listening. I'm like, damn, that is dope. That is attractive. That is this. That is all of it. I would love a man that did that. That's the type of, I
But
love men
Avery,
like that.
most women say that though. What you're saying right now?
But it's because I'm connected to my feminine and because I can receive it. Now,
Right.
if this would have been Avery 1.0, it's Avery 2.0. If this would have been Avery 1.0, I would have been like, oh my God, like he is so needy, right? He
Right.
is so needy. What is he trying to do? Like, but now it's like, no, I'm a man, you're a man, I'm a woman. You know what I'm saying? So when a guy's like, no, this is what it is. I'm sending you this. Hey, you want, whatever, like little stuff like that, and taking the initiative and being thoughtful, because I know he doesn't have to do it, right? He doesn't have to do it, but he's choosing to do it for me. Yes, baby, thank you. Like, I'm going to receive it all from you.
Mm. So you was once upon a time one of those women's that I was just talking about then.
Yes, 100% sure. Yes, 100%. And I'm like, that's why it's like, us doing this or whatever in the conversations, I will put myself on the chopping block and I will say, oh, I was definitely that woman. You know what I'm saying? I still know women like that, but I was definitely like that.
Oh.
And I'm going to give you guys the insight on why I was like that and the source of where it came from. So maybe it'll help you, understand. Like, I'm here to open up and be an open book to an extent, for like experience reasons, for like lessons, so guys know what to look for. But also I've had a lot of women relate to me and they're like, oh my gosh, that's how I am. How did you get to where you are right now? Not that I'm anywhere perfect, but I've grown, right? How did you evolve to Avery 2.0? What did you do? I'm like, yes, like, let's work. That's what I'm here for. I was 100% turned off by that. I'm like, ugh.
Fellas, hey, I'm glad you're saying it. So you're saying it's just a matter of being connected to or embracing your divine femininity for women.
It's that, and it's also because so many women want to be, they have this independent, strong woman, like I'm saying, mindset, whether it was forced on them, whether they were told it by their grandmothers, the other women in their life, whatever, pop culture. And so many women and I don't know if you agree, we have more women that lead in their masculinity. It's
Right.
like, womanhood is dead. Like, to me, it is. Femininity is dead. And I don't mean get your nails done, hair did,
Yeah.
wear dresses, right?
Costume. Yeah. A man can put on a costume, but go ahead.
Right. That
Yeah.
doesn't make you a woman. None
Right.
of that makes you a woman. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Everything in here makes you a woman. What's between your legs doesn't make you a woman, which is another problem, right? That doesn't make you a woman. And that also won't keep a man. That feminine energy, all of that inner work and the constant accountability and the constant, like, just growing and working on yourself and being able to give a man the space that he needs to be a man, and like respecting and loving, and loving men and knowing their place and their worth and their value. All of that is what, kind of gets you there to be able to receive a man. And it also gets you able, like I said before, like Avery 1.0 would have, okay, here's a scenario. We're in the same city, right? You
Right.
are who you are right now. I'm Avery 1.0.
Right.
I would have not been able to recognize the man that you are. You know what I'm saying? Type of man, because of where I was at. Not because you were lacking, lacking as a man, but because I'm lacking as a woman. So I can't even identify, recognize, or appreciate you as a man. So that's why if we would have met and say somehow dated, I would have been in that place where I wasn't appreciative, right?
Right.
Because I can't even see where you're at because I'm not there. You're here. You know what I'm saying? So that's why a man can't match with a female. You know what I'm saying? It's not compatible. And a woman can't match with a male because it's not compatible. We're in two different realms.
Gotcha. Definitely understood. Sheesh.
I know that's a lot. Okay, let's get
No. I'm glad you
done.
said that because there's a lot of men, and I'm gonna hop off this. There's a lot of men that are really, and I'm not just putting it because some guys aren't on this type of time, but there are a lot of dudes who are dealing with this issue where they're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to be a nice guy? Should I try to be a player? Or do I do this? Do I pump and just all these different things, and push and pull. Okay, do I pull back? Okay, when do I go in? Do I pull? Okay,
Right.
okay. What she said this. Okay, all right. Let me look at my player book. All right, she said this. All right,
Right.
so I gotta wait this long before I respond back, or I have to say this when she said. It's just all these different things. When it's just like, whether you're ready for that person, and sometimes people aren't ready for each other at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel about it. But
The timing can be completely off. Like they say,
right.
right person, wrong time.
Right person, wrong time. Exactly. So you were speaking on something earlier. Like, do you believe in love languages? Because I know you were hinting at some of those things earlier. Do you believe in that? Is that a real thing?
To me, it is. Like, I don't know if it has to be, like how they've done in the book and like this, like
Yeah.
those labels. But I do believe in love languages. And I think that it's important to understand how somebody needs to be loved, right? That's a very real thing, because if you perceive love one way, right, through certain actions that I was to do or whatever, if I'm not doing that, but if I'm like, well, no, I do this, and you're like, but that's not what I need. That's not
Right.
how I feel love or receive love from a woman. That's not how I feel love from a woman. It's this. Then I need to listen to that. You know what I'm saying? I need to like take notice. And I have a real life explanation when it comes, to that with my own personal life, right?
Oh, okay.
So, I was, with my ex, and I remember one time he said, he was like, I never felt like you loved me, or something to that extent, right? I'm thinking like, what? What do you mean I didn't love you? You know what I'm saying? I was like supporting your career, like holding down the fort, with the business and the kids and everything like that. And it's like, go be great. I'm putting my life on hold so you can be great or whatever, because we're a team. But I didn't understand then what he was saying. You know what I'm saying? So as a man, he was saying, I don't feel like as a woman, yes, you're doing those things, but there are certain other things that I feel that a woman should do to show her love for a man, i.e. me. And he gave me some examples and I was like, oh, and the stuff I was doing stuff, right? It was stuff he wanted to feel needed, right?
Correct.
I didn't know men wanted to feel needed and wanted by the woman in their life. Because a lot of times we're like, oh, you're supposed to, the woman's supposed to do this, the woman's supposed to do that, so the man wants her. I didn't know that men wanted to feel wanted and needed. And I was like, oh, if I was like, oh, I miss you, or, I'm going to go on the road with you, or I'm going to do this or do that, or, whatever it was, I'm like, oh, okay. So now, and that's something that I had to learn, right? So there's certain things that I pick up on, and that's why he wasn't feeling loved. Not that he didn't appreciate all those other things, right, that I was doing, but it's like, no, that's not what I need from my woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I want you to do that. Just like I'm out doing X, Y, and Z. You do this, I do that. We're a team, right? But as a man, I need to feel your love. And we all feel love differently, right? There's different ways that we want to be loved. So that is why I do believe in forms of love languages, right? So if somebody feels loved by receiving gifts and they're with somebody who doesn't give gifts, but may, speak certain words to them or whatever, they may feel like they're not loved because like, you don't get me little gifts, right? Because that's how I feel loved, is by little tokens, right? Not just you saying, oh, you look beautiful. So I think that's very important to listen to. And it's real. What do you think? Are you a love language person, or, do you have a way?
I'm kind of, I get it. With me personally, I can see that. I believe more so what you said in terms of when you were speaking in terms of your relationship. A man, there's a saying, I think it goes comes from a movie. I think it was Peggy Bundy. What was the Sons of Anarchy? I think she had a
Right.
line in there where she said something like men want to be loved, women want to be wanted. You know what I mean? Which I think is so true. I think that women want to be desired, they want to be wanted. Even though some women want to feel like, they feel useful when they are able to do something for you, the nurturing part of it.
Right.
In terms of that. But men definitely desire that love from a woman, to know that this woman loves me, that she will basically, pretty much do anything for me at the end of the day.
Yes.
That she needs me. But women,
Yes.
it's just kind of like, I need to know that he wants me. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You get that love stuff. I even though you want to hear it from time, women want to hear it 100. Some women, if she really loves you, she wants to hear it 100 times a day
Right.
until she gets turned off. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
From hearing that, because
Right.
of lack of filling her cup, as a lot of women will say, my
Right.
cup is empty. You need to fill my cup, and things like that. Which God knows how many times I've heard that.
Right.
My cup is empty. You need to fill my cup, and things like that. And guys are
Right.
like, I'm just not gonna fill your cup. And you're gonna love me more. I'm just not gonna fill your cup. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Love starved, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely can see how people can say that's my love language, but I think there's just those two. It comes down to those two things.
Yeah.
What I
Mm-hmm.
just said, based off of that, I think
Yeah.
those are love languages in itself. Somebody said in the I'm not gonna quote it. Somebody said something about the only love language is Christ. I know that's right.
I know, right. Well, and
Yeah.
that, right. And I mean, honestly, you can have love languages and all that. And I do agree. Like, men want to be loved, because I feel like the whole respect thing, when men, a woman respecting her man, is a big form of love, for men. And women do want to be wanted and desired, because it feels good to know, like, when when your man looks at you and he's like, he's proud of you, and not just when it comes to the physical, but just like everything about you. You know what I'm saying? And he desires your conversation and your presence, even if you guys are sitting in, just sitting in silence, not even talking.
Right.
But if he is choosing to stop the grind and not hang out with the boys and do certain stuff because he wants to be by his woman, or he wants his woman, and yes, you do definitely hang out with, your people or whatever, but like, that makes a woman feel good when it's like, damn, my man wants me. You know what I'm saying? Because
Absolutely.
a lot of times women feel like men have more options, right, than they do. So it's like, he could be with, whoever, but he
Right.
wants me, which is also, I think, important, like you said, when it comes to men saying like they want to, they want to be, want to be loved or whatever. Those are definitely, to me, the major love languages, and I can see that. That's a good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. The polarity. So we're in a relationship. If we're in a relationship, right?
Okay.
Once we cross this threshold and we're like, okay, we're an item now.
Right.
As a woman, what are your expectations of me at that point? For
Everything.
you personally, everything,
No, no, I'm
everything.
kidding. No. So it's weird because it's almost like I would have expectations that I would want you to have for yourself, which would already be there right before we get into the whole relationship thing, right? Like there are certain things that like I want a man who takes care of himself, right? I
Mm-hmm.
expect a man who takes care of himself, whether it's going to the gym, playing basketball, not like a fitness freak or anything like that, but it shows that he cares for himself and he loves himself, which means he can, help care for me and all that kind of stuff. So that, I do expect, but that's not like a thing, but it is like a big thing for me. But honestly, a man to provide solutions. That's
Okay.
what I like. If you were my man, I would expect for you to be, to provide solutions, not to like all of my problems, but like I do feel like if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do for you as your woman, which we can get into like what you expect from a woman,
Right.
that yes, as a man, you should help alleviate certain things in my life, right? Even if
Absolutely.
it's just me complaining, and it doesn't have to necessarily, complaining about like, I don't know. And if you're like, babe, this, and this, because men also think very black and white, So
Absolutely.
sometimes like I've talked to a guy and it's like, I can talk to him about certain stuff that I have going on with my friendships, like, babe, I kind of feel like this person, this, and he can just see it differently. And
Absolutely.
he provides solutions, right? It's like, no, I am here as a man to help make your life easier. And in turn, obviously, you shouldn't be stressing me the F out, you know what I'm saying? But I am here to add to your life. You know what I'm saying? I am here to be of service to you, but just like I'm there to be of service to him. So I would expect, that. Do I expect you to take over my bills and all of, and all of that kind of stuff?
Mm.
No, I do not. I am old fashioned when it comes to certain stuff. Like like Kevin Samuels used to say, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
And everybody doesn't agree with him, but just like I agreed with him when it came to the accountability and certain stuff with women, I didn't pick and choose what I wanted to agree on him with,
Correct.
right? And we had our own respect for each other. But like he said, like with a man, a woman's money really shouldn't be a factor, right?
Her
With
what?
certain things. I believe that.
Her what?
Her money
Okay.
when it comes to
Absolutely.
certain things shouldn't be a factor, right? So, and I definitely believe that, but that does not mean we're dating and now my bills come to your house.
Correct.
That's not what I mean, So there's just certain things, but I do expect for a man just to show up and be a man. You know what I'm saying? I know what that, and just to be him, and we'll just kind of like flow naturally. But I'm not that woman that has like, okay, so JR, we're official. Okay, so this is what I have this long list of everything I expect for you to do because I'm a woman, I'm God, you're in my world,
Mm.
and you're here to just, pour out, fill up my cup, fill my cup up to the overflows, and I never fill yours up. So if I have certain expectations, I definitely think that you should have certain expectations. And I believe that if I'm not meeting my expectations that you have for me, I would understand why you're not in turn meeting the expectations that I have for you.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a give and take. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm giving, you're taking, you're giving, it's a whole thing. We pour into each other.
Absolutely. I could. I'm along the lines of you mentioned communication.
Right.
When you say, and I think that's the biggest thing with that women complain about is time with a
Mm-hmm.
man, especially when it comes to a relationship. Um, I just feel like a lot of times it's just if you're able to listen to a woman,
Mm-hmm.
definitely don't argue with her. Don't go back and forth with a woman. You're able to listen to her if she's asked, which I learned that too.
Mm-hmm.
Women want solutions, but a lot of times, from my opinion, you can correct me if I'm wrong. She just wants you to listen because that's when you talk to your girlfriends. You just want them to listen. They'll throw stuff in. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
they're obviously women are always going to come to other women's defense, in my estimation. Things
Mm-hmm.
go on behind the scenes, but a lot of times your girlfriends are going to be in agreement with you and support whatever it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like when you're in a relationship with a woman, she comes home and I use the term emotional tampon a lot.
Uh-huh.
But she just wants to just talk about it.
Right.
So unless she asks you for a solution, don't give her a solution a lot of times
Right.
because it may backfire. You know
Right.
what I mean? Because you're trying to fix all my problems. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So I feel like, and in that aspect, men are a lot different from women because some dudes will ask for advice, or some dudes will just sulk, just sit
Right.
back and just come up with a solution on their own. And like a person like myself, I'll be like, yo, I don't like to tell people my business.
Right.
I'll talk to my woman about it, but I'll
Yeah.
come up with a solution on my own.
Yes.
Women, it's like women have to talk. They have to talk to other
Mm-hmm.
women. They have to talk to you. And if you're not listening to her, then she's gonna find an ear in one way, shape, or form. But if you always
Right.
a listening ear to her
Right.
and you let her get it all out,
Uh-huh.
that's what I call, which I talk about on my channel, effective communication
Right.
is listening to her, let her get it all out, and then she'll just feel so much better. And then
Mm-hmm.
oh, for real, even if you're not even
Right.
there, oh, for
Right.
real, oh, but girl, you're not even, no hit her with the girl, but girl, you know what I'm saying, baby,
Right.
what are you talking about, baby? You know what I'm saying? Hey, everything is
Mm-hmm.
all is well. Reassure her.
Yes.
People say don't validate. You're supposed to validate your woman. You know what I'm saying? I don't
Yeah.
know what all this is coming from, but I feel like that's like the biggest thing that I hear women complain
Mm-hmm.
about is that dudes don't give them enough attention and that just don't listen. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Women
it's
don't listen. No,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
we really don't. We really don't. But I agree with you. I need a little bit of both though. Because sometimes I feel like now, like if we were in a relationship and I just, I would love that you would allow me to vent and get stuff off my chest because see, I'm the opposite. Like I don't tell my girlfriends everything.
right.
If I'm with a man, I'm not telling them everything. And it's because I also don't tell people my business for real. Like I may have, a few that I know, even though I could tell them anything, but I'm like, well,
Every
no,
woman
my
I've been
man.
in a serious relationship with, she basically, and I'm just like, yo,
Yeah.
like this is why you got to tell everybody. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I don't believe in that. I don't believe, because then what could also happen is sometimes you start talking to other people more than you talk to each other,
Correct.
right? So like I do, and I don't want a man that just listens because then sometimes I'm like, were you hearing me? And I feel like, if you're my man, you can pick up on, okay, this is just Avery venting. I'm just
Yeah.
let me just, she's a spaz sometimes. I got ADD, she's all over the place. Let her just go. Okay, babe. What's up? Whatever. So you'll know when I'm just like venting and when it's like, whatever, like something else, right? So like I've had, a pipe leak at my house, right? I had a pipe leak at my house and I'm talking to my man and he's like, okay, what is it? All right, cool. I'm gonna call you right back. Call
Right.
plumbers, call this, call that. And hey, they have my number. They're going to be at your house. They're finishing a job. They're going to be at your house. They're going to call me first, but they also have your number, right?
Mhm.
That's my problem. Not like, oh, I got it. I can do it on my own. I was like, thank you. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because I had so many other things to do. So it needs to be a mix. Yes, I want you to listen to me, but yeah, I want you to be the man and provide solutions. And if you can make my life easier and be like, you know what? I don't want her stressed out, just like I don't want him stressed out. Plus, some men are smart. We can get to this. I know we're going to talk about sex. I hope so. I know we don't do the lives too long, but
No, we'll get to that. Yeah, go ahead
yeah,
though.
but it's like, okay, also like some men are smart. And they're like, hey, if she's stressed out, when women are sometimes stressed and men, the libido, the whole sexual like chemistry and energy is down. So if he's like, wait, I need that release. And I know how she gets. She'll be like, I'm too tired. I'm stressed out. I had to do this, this, and this. Like, I'm not going to get none. So
Hmm.
let me help.
Yeah, and I think what you saying that also, I think a complaint a lot of times, um, men aren't mind readers either. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, women speak in innuendo a lot of times, or
Mm-hmm.
you'll say certain things that won't come out directly and ask you. Especially when you're dating, I had to learn that the hard way. When
Yeah.
women will say certain things, or
We talk in circles.
hey, or like, hey, my bill, or hey, I don't know about this, or hey, this dishwasher is doing this washing machine is doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or just and sometimes like me, I was just like, okay, why don't you get your ass on YouTube and look up, you know what I'm saying? Well,
Right.
that's how I was at the time. Instead of she's like doesn't want to come out and ask you, she'll just make a statement or say something about a bill,
Yeah.
you know, just about, well, this is, you know, what's up, you know, this, that, blah, 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 and not knowing that she's basically asking you, you
Mm-hmm.
know, by making a statement like that instead of coming
Yes.
out. And I was just like kind of slow when it comes to things like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that you know, some women are, well, a lot of women speaking innuendo instead of just coming out
Yeah.
saying, hey, you know, this is what it is, you know, X, Y, Z, so on and so forth. So
Right. Because
I
men,
think
you guys are more direct. You may say, like, hey,
absolutely
you know, and I'm making this up. If you were like, if we were together and you were like, Avery, hey, you know, I need to record, I need to do some streams. I need you to, if I was like, hey, baby, today I can do for you. Yeah, I need you to go to the cleaners and pick up X, Y, and Z because
correct.
it's been there a couple days long and they're going to be closing and I got to get this done. Right.
Correct.
You'll do that. I'd be walking around the house like, oh my gosh, I gotta
Yeah.
prepare. I gotta record.
Right.
I gotta, you know, I have to pick up this. I have to pick up this stuff from the cleaners. I have to do this. I have to do that. Instead of saying, "Hey,
Absolutely.
babe," you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And then if you don't pick up on it, because I want you to be a mind reader, and you're right, right? This goes to the expectations and communication. If you don't pick up on it, then I'm going to have an attitude with you
Exactly.
later. If you go to touch me, I'll be like, "No, I'm tired." Because you didn't offer help when I said I had to do this, this, and this. You didn't say anything. And you'll be like, well, babe, you didn't. This sounds like a real conversation. You didn't say nothing. You didn't ask me. Yeah, but I was talking and you heard me, but you didn't ask me. And then I'll be like, oh, so I'm supposed to ask you. And it turns into a whole thing.
Correct.
That's how people start splitting up. It's not always the crazy stuff. It's stuff like that. That
Something so
little stuff,
simple.
that's big stuff, right? That's
Yeah.
how it starts to happen. And then, you know, you come to touch me at night, I'm turning my back.
You didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't take the trash out or whatever, even though that's implied task, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But just saying something like that, which I think is the big, as you said, that's
Mm-hmm.
like one of the biggest, you know, lack of communication is, I think, is one of the biggest issues, whether they come to
Right.
financing, you know, and that's obviously what this video is about, communication,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and, you know, expectations, but it's just like, whether it be finances, feelings, you know, your
Right.
sexual appetite, you know, just the way, you know, business is conducted in general. It's one of those things. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that you should be comfortable enough with your significant other. This is your significant other to have these talks, you know, a lot of
Yes.
times, which that's obviously why we're here.
Yeah.
You know, but before I go into this thing, because I see people are slacking here in the chat, you know what I'm saying? We're shout out to Jared. I see you you holding court in the chat. We got 80 likes, man. It needs to be 100 guys. Hit that like
Let's
button. If
get
you're
it
just not
up.
joining up, yeah, run it up. Hit the like button. Helps to promote the video. You know, this is excellent information that we're putting out. This is hot fire. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That you guys should be, you know, learn. You know, you guys are getting good information here. You know, in
Yes.
terms from different perspectives. So, you know, moving on to what we were saying. Obviously, we were talking. I think we were gonna go with comparison.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to comparison, you know, people compare their relationships to others or to other families, or maybe this worked for this your
Oh,
cousin or aunties and uncles, and or uh, Rihanna and ASAP Rocky, or Russell Wilson and, you know, Sierra,
Sierra.
and all
Mm-hmm.
this works for them. How do you feel in terms of the dynamic of once you're in a relationship and you setting things at your own pace when it comes to comparison with other relationships? How do you see that from a woman's perspective?
I think it's completely unhealthy. Just like in anything, right? I don't feel like you should compare your relationship to anybody else's.
Mm,
I at all, at all, right? Like,
yeah,
or if we're in the social media age, right? The celebs, right? Everybody at one point wanted to be Lori Harvey and whatchamacallit, you know, and people are
Michael
putting
Jordan.
all their hopes and everything in people's relationships. And like you said, Russell and Sierra and everything like that. So then they get in their relationship and they have these same expectations for somebody that's completely different. You don't know we only know what we see, right?
Absolutely.
We don't really know. So it's like, why are you comparing yourself and your man and your relationship to everybody else? Like, it's not, you're going to be doomed Like the
Mm-hmm.
relationship is going to be doomed if you guys are not having this conversation. If you all personally are not like, okay, what do we want for our relationship? What do we want our relationship to look like? You know what I'm saying? What do we expect for our relationship in its totality? Then you're going to be doomed. You cannot, like, that is the root of all types of, bad stuff. I think when you compare yourself to other people, and because what works for them isn't going to work for you. There is no blueprint or
Absolutely.
one size fits all when it comes to relationships, even when it comes to roles and responsibilities. Everybody's roles and responsibilities, everybody's inner workings of their relationship is going to look different. What does it look like for you all to have a successful, what you would consider a successful, healthy relationship, right?
Right.
You may have some people that are like, oh no, we only need to have sex once a month, right? And then you have other people, and they're happy and it seems like they're connected. And you have other people that are like, well, see, they're good. Look at how
Yes.
happy they are. They only have sex once a month. But you're saying that to somebody who wants sex 4 times a week,
Correct.
right? They're completely different people, completely different interests, likes, dislikes, turned on, turns off, and everything like that. Like you can't, definitely do not compare yourself. And then you could be comparing yourself to a situation that is, completely messed up, but you think based on what it looks like,
Right.
that
A
it's healthy
highlight
and it's
reel.
all of this. They could hate each other. They could be sleeping in different rooms. They could be leading
Absolutely.
different lives. They could not be talking. There could be, and that's light. It could also be abuse. It could be all different types of things. And
Correct.
you're like, how come you're not doing this for me? How come you're not doing that? And then also when it comes to financial, stuff, right? The stuff, if you get caught up on the stuff and what other people are doing and buying their women or not, and trips that they're taking.
Yeah.
Okay, if their money, if the money is looking different, then that's different. If y'all's money is a little funny or you're saving the bill for stuff, you can't get mad if that man don't want to buy you a purse or
Right.
whatever. If he's trying to buy you a house in some years, if he's trying to like take care of the rent or start his business or save or whatever, you can't say you don't love me and you don't take care of me. You didn't do this when, his stuff, his stuff's a little funny, or he's, like I said, he's working hard. You know what I'm saying? Working hard for the relationship and for you all down the road. So yeah, definitely do not compare at all.
Yeah, definitely the thief of joy.
Yes.
Comparison is the thief of joy. And
absolutely.
With the advent of social media, all we seeing, like you said, is we're seeing everyone else's highlight reels. Nobody's gonna post and be like, well, this just happened. They just repoed my car today, or he just put the beaters on me today, or
right.
I just caught her, or maybe a lot of dudes will, like a man will be like, I caught her cheating and all this stuff like that.
right.
And stuff like that. But it's just like I feel like that is definitely an issue that people will try to compete instead of what works for them. So
yes.
With that being said, though, you mentioned sex with this couple, maybe once a month may be fine with them. But if your libido is at an all-time high, and you may be a horn dog, which is nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
Right.
You may need you may want to have it multiple times a day, maybe
right.
multiple times a week. How important is sex in a relationship, situationship, marriage? How important is that?
So in a relationship, a committed relationship, whether it's marriage or we're just in a committed relationship, it is, to me, it's one of the most important things.
Okay.
100%. It is one of the most important things. And it's not like just for men. That's completely false. Only men need sex. No. But to me, it is one of the top. It's top, right? It is. I think it's definitely top. You can't build a relationship on sex, which we all know that, right? But it is very important because, mentally, physically, emotionally, and everything like that, and the connection. And we're talking about committed relationships. I'm not talking about just sneaky links and everything like that. Solely for committed, real, relationships, sex is one of the most important things. I believe, for sure. Whether you guys like it, whether dislike
it.
Whatever.
You say whether you like it. What you say, whether you like it, go ahead.
Whether you like it or not, but I feel like sex is one of those things that also people don't talk about. But it's like the elephant in the room, and I don't know why. It's like you all do it. You know what I'm saying? Like most people do it. Why don't you want to talk about it? Because our expectations could be different. So, or if you're with a woman who wants it more, and a guy's like, well, no, like I'm tired, I work, I do this, or like I am stimulated from other ways and I don't need it like that, but she wants to and he doesn't, then she starts feeling like, oh, he doesn't want me or whatever. So wherever your feelings are about sex, the frequency and all of that, I feel it is something that's very important that needs to be talked about. And I know we're going to go a little bit more in a little bit more detail, but
Yeah, for
what do
sure.
you think? Do you think it's important?
I mean,
Is it number one in your book? No. No.
I had a conversation, and before I give you my answer, I had a gentleman. I don't know if you had a chance or when you get a chance. Awesome interview. What I did with a guy named Javon Clark.
Okay.
He calls himself the master teacher,
Okay.
former teacher,
Okay.
and he has a different outlook on things. He says that he has the sex drive of 3 men. He's 45 years old,
Okay.
and he's a polygamist. He has 2 wives,
Okay.
but he said that sex is not at the top of the list. He
Right.
said that what's important to him is taking care of his family and
Mm-hmm.
duty.
Mm-hmm.
Sex is he actually said this. He said sex is at the bottom of the list. People think,
Okay.
polygamy is just about a man wanting to have sex.
It's not
A lot of
right.
some dudes can't really perform like that. You got some dudes in their 20s and 30s can't perform
Right.
like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was basically saying that's at the bottom of the list, and even
Mm-hmm.
like he went talking about old school marriages, relationships. It wasn't. I mean, Kevin even talked about this, like,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't really agree, but he said it's not really about love. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's more so about duty towards your family and things like that. Looks do fade, as
Mm-hmm.
we said, and
Absolutely.
as Kevin said, a lot of us said, Javon said the other day, looks do fade. So
Yes.
it's about duty to your family, somebody to be there. And I think the older you get, it's about companionship. But we're talking
Yes.
about sex now. As a hot blooded man, it's very important. You know what I
Right.
mean? It definitely is something that's important. I think to most men it's important because the nature of a man, and I've said this countless times, the nature of a man is strong,
Mm-hmm.
or should be strong.
Yes.
If you take care of yourself, as I've asked the gentleman Javon about what does he
Mm-hmm.
do, because some men are having issues with, and I know you're in the industry of fitness
Uh-huh.
and health and
Mm-hmm.
nutrition and things like that. For a man, basically taking care of yourself. If you take care of yourself, you shouldn't have to resort to a pill. So
Absolutely.
I hate to be long winded, but I just want to throw that. It's super important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that I've never had the issue, which I know we're about to go into the segue into this. I've never had the issue which a lot of guys run into about either their wives or their girlfriends or fiancés, whoever, basically rolling over and saying, "I'm good," or saying, "I'm not about to do that," or "I'm not going to do that." I've never had that issue
Wow.
personally. So I was just like, I don't. If I'm in a situation like that at this point in my life, because I'm still on that type of time where it's just like that's not going to work.
Yeah,
You
it's
hear what I'm
put out
saying?
and get out.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm trying to get busy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have an attraction to you, obviously, so I'm trying to get busy with you. I'm not
Right.
taking you out to the streets.
Right.
Which is the way a lot of men look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I
No,
mean, you
like,
just asked me, but you tell me.
well, no, and I agree
But,
with what
yeah.
what the man said that you did the interview with. It's not for him that's at the bottom of the list because I feel like it's important, right? There are other things that are way more important, and that's why, like, I don't believe in sex being your foundation. But to
Mm,
me, it is very important. It is very important for both people to be on the same page when it comes to sex, because since it is important, like I said, if you're not on the same page, right, then
right.
somebody else can be like you just said, I'm hot blooded. That's something that's important to me. So right now, no, it wouldn't work if I was in a situation where 75% of the time she was like, no, I don't feel like it, or turned over and went to sleep, right? That's important to you.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel, it's one of those things. That's why people have to be on the same field, right? Because,
Right.
like, it can end up in being like, okay, this isn't going to work. And some people are like, oh, well, you shouldn't have broken with this person because they didn't want to have sex. They they
Let
try to
me
water it down,
let me
right?
ask you this, Avery. Let me ask you this though. Do you
Hmm.
think if the attraction is still there, if someone, barring any health issues,
Hmm.
do you think if someone is genuinely attracted to their significant other, that there wouldn't really be that issue? Or what's your thoughts on that? Because I know we've talked, offline about the
Right,
withholding sex and things like that.
right.
If someone's genuinely attracted to that person, vice man or woman,
Uh-huh.
or a woman, to their man, do you think that there's that issue that still comes up if they're like attracted to their significant other?
I think it can be. Like, I don't think it would be an issue, right? Because naturally it's like you're attracted, you're connected, and you want to connect with that person in that way physically. But depending on the situation, right? Because it can be situational, something could have happened that, yes, although you're attracted to this person, but say you're upset about something, say you guys had a disagreement that you guys have not talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's lingering, and now all of a sudden you're feeling some type of way, you're uncomfortable, there could be trust issues, it could be whatever, right? There could be trust issues, it could be anything. And if you're not communicating, like you said, communication is big. If you're not communicating, that's when you have people that start to go to bed angry one night, right?
Right.
They normally are whatever, right? Or throughout the day or on lunch breaks, they're normally connecting, but now all of a sudden we've had an issue and it's been one day, which isn't normal for them. It's been 2 days, it's been 3 days, it's been 4 days. So, yes, I think that, yes, you can be attracted to somebody and have that genuine connection and whatever, and it not be an issue, but it can become an issue if there are other underlying things that you guys have let go and not addressed as far as your relationship and those expectations. Like, yes, communication is big, right? So if you
Mm.
haven't discussed certain things, then it will completely interfere with your sexual energy and your sex life with that person.
Now, is that kind of like you're getting that triggers?
It could be
Like it can be
it could
triggered
be
like a trigger.
triggers, or it could just be like some unresolved, something silly, right? Something silly, and you guys are being petty, and you go to bed, you go to bed angry, or you're deciding not to put out. You can be withholding sex. And it's not necessarily withholding it like that, but it's like, no, I'm not really feeling you right now, right? Like, you
Mm.
can love somebody and be attracted to them, and in a moment, depending on something happened, not really be feeling them and be like, no, like, I don't want to do all that because I feel some type of way about whatever,
Right. I
right?
get I get that part if you're in a moment when you're
Right.
upset.
But
But I'm
then,
just meaning like if everything's going well.
okay, so if
Mm.
everything's
Yeah.
going well, then no. Why are you not?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you not doing it all? Like,
Right.
have your own OnlyFans behind the scenes,
Exactly.
like,
Exactly.
because it's a good release. It's a release that is needed for both men and women. It's a connection. When you are with the right person, it
Mhm.
energizes you, right? Like,
Right.
when a man is with the right woman and the woman's with the right man, the man leaves that situation feeling energized, right?
Correct.
Once he's connected with that woman and released, okay, I am ready to take on the world. I'm ready to go do this. I'm ready to do that. Babe, what do you need? Okay, boom, boom, boom. Let's say they're married and they have kids, or they're common law, whatever, they have kids. Okay, I'm gonna take this one to practice. I'm gonna do this. And it's like, okay,
Right.
Superman. And that's when women realize, baby, you better do what you do a little bit more. However, whether it's quick, whether it's long, whatever it is in any form, because it helps. But usually it puts the woman, especially if we're high, like this, it actually relaxes us.
Yes.
It can, like, it motivates us and inspires us, but in a way, and it sounds crazy to say motivate, but it does. It motivates and inspires us, but it also makes us kind of like, it helps us rest in our feminine. And I know I'm gonna say that a lot, but it's true. That also helps us rest in our feminine. And then it makes the man, like, it turns him on, which it's supposed to.
Yeah. I don't know about energized, but I understand what you're saying. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? 'Cause
energized
you
now,
get wiped
you'll
out.
be tired, but that energized, like, okay, like, I'm good. Like, I need to get that up off
Yeah.
of me. That sounds
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I got that up off me.
Yeah.
I love you more now, even though I'm not trying to cuddle. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So the whole, well, I guess what you were alluding to, obviously, I'm assuming was the punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Withholding it. Do you think if you're in a relationship, whether it be a woman asking a man or a man asking a woman, or kind of like insinuating, hey, let's let's throw the hat on the doorknob outside, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
let's go inside. Do you think it's regardless of you being angry or upset or whatever, this current whatever disposition you're in at that time,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it's just you should still submit to your significant other sexually regardless? Or how do you feel about that?
It depends, right?
Mhm.
It definitely, I do think it depends, right? And we're not, if it's something bizarre, right, and really wild, then obviously nobody might be in the mood, right? We get
Right,
it.
right.
But when it's just using it as leverage, right, and that form of punishment, like if you're upset with him over just something silly, or you just want to control him, people that try to use it as a form of control and stuff like that, it's like, oh, I'm not going to give him none, or I'm not going to give her none, or whatever. There's like a form of it's almost like a form of abuse, right? that
Absolutely.
you're that you're not, it is. And so people do it. I am against that. I think it's wrong. And I've had conversations with people and like joking, they're like, I don't care if she's mad, you giving me something, you know what I'm saying? She's giving me some or whatever. And sometimes
Yeah.
it helps. You may lay there and talk afterwards or whatever. And it may help the situation or whatever. But no, I know some people that are like, no, that's non-negotiable. And obviously we're not talking about extreme situations when you're
Yeah.
mad at each other or something devastating happened, right? But just normal day to day, you should not use it as a form of punishment. One, it don't work, because all you're going to do is eventually turn that person off and force them to get that release from somewhere else.
Correct.
And what can you say? When you do that, you are opening the door, the window, whatever you want to call it, for that person, especially if you know that they want you and that they want that sexual release and connection with you. But because you know that, you decide to use it as a form of punishment or manipulation, you're forcing them. You are
Yes.
literally forcing them without saying, go ahead and do it. You're forcing them to kind of like find it in other areas, even though they may not want to. But it's like, no, I need it. This is, I want this and I need it. But they're gonna be like, okay. Or they're gonna think that, do you not love them? It goes to that. Do you not love them anymore? Do you not want them anymore? Do you not desire them anymore?
Correct.
And that is also going to start to turn them off towards you sexually, to where now they don't even want it from you or with you.
Right. I had a conversation, not when I'm glad you mentioned that,
Mm-hmm.
a partner of mine, where he was just like, I think his wife was like that at a point, and he was like, I don't ever want to get to the point where I don't want it anymore. I don't want to be with her sexually anymore, but I feel
Right.
like he's pushing me in that direction
Mm-hmm.
because she just doesn't want to,
Yep.
she doesn't want to, be that she doesn't want to be sexual with me, or she
Right.
doesn't want to do what I want to do. Not I'm not saying on some crazy, crazy type stuff, but I guess that's where communication comes in. And hey, what's your likes and dislikes? Because as you
I'm glad you
said,
said that. Yep.
yeah, go ahead. What were you about to
Well,
say?
no, I'm glad you got to that, right? Because that's important too. Just, the frequency or being on the same page, but also exploring more when it comes to sex,
Hmm.
right? To me, your sexual life with your partner should be a judgment-free zone.
Correct.
You should create a space where they should feel comfortable to talk about their likes or dislikes, or to introduce something new without you
Right.
being like, oh, where'd you get that from? So what you been
Right.
doing with such as, or whatever. But for a healthy relationship, that is important, to create that space. You shouldn't make them feel ashamed or anything. And obviously, I've had this conversation with people like, well, how do I introduce this? I actually like this, and I actually want this from her. How do I say it? Or if it's something that's a little bit more extreme, there's levels to introduce,
Absolutely.
you got to
Yeah.
crawl before you walk, right?
Right.
But it's like, why wouldn't we want to know? Like, of course, like as your woman, I want to know what turns you on. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? What do you like? What do you not like? What do you want to try? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
let's do it. And especially, and then obviously you would know if it was something like whatever, but I'm not going to be like, you nasty,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Right.
who do you think I am, or anything like that. Like, no, why don't we just want to do it the same way all the time or whatever? If you desire me in a certain way, in a certain situation, position, space, place, whatever,
Right.
I am here to please you. You want to
Mm.
be pleased by me? I want to please you. Let's do it.
Mm.
Well, depending on what it is, you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right. Depending
Let's
on
do it,
what
but
it
no.
is.
And it goes
Right.
both ways for the woman. We should be able to have that space to where we can openly discuss that. And we should try new things because yes, like the passion, that's what I was gonna ask you. You know, like at first it's like all like fiery and spicy.
Right.
Life happens, schedules, if you have
It's
kids, if
new.
you don't have kids, whatever. So the passion can fizzle down. It doesn't mean you don't love that person, you're not attracted to him, but you got to try something new. Like who always wants to go eat at the same restaurant? Who always
Right.
wants to go out of town to the same place and never go anywhere else? Or whatever. Use the same deodorant. It may stop working. They say you should switch your deodorant and your conditioner and shampoo because it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So, sometimes you have to change it up, and somebody should be willing to do that. Especially especially if you're married or just in a relationship. Like, yeah, switched up, baby. What do you want from me? How do you like me? How do you want me?
However do you want me? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
However do you do? Yeah, I totally agree. I see people were
Yep.
asking. We're gonna open up the call. You can super chat if you got any questions, or I know that we're tarrying on a little bit longer than we should have, but
My bad.
no. It's hey, we're conversing. These are hot topics. We're gonna
Right.
open up the call lines here for a few before we get out. See if anybody wants to call. You guys can go ahead and call in right now, and you'll just be in the queue. The link is pinned in the chat if you have questions that you
Mm-hmm.
would like to ask, or you can super chat those questions. Those are the two ways that because
Yes.
I think you guys were asking whether you have a question for me or Avery, or both of us will respond to your question. So feel
Mm-hmm.
free to super chat that or call in to ask your question.
For
But
sure.
I think that communication. So I'll give you a good example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was married for quite some time.
Okay.
So when you're with the same partner, you may be used to certain things sexually with that partner, and
Right.
it's only but so many tricks that you that you
Right.
can do. You know what I'm saying? Communication over time. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you try to keep it electric and things like that. But I think some, especially when you're young, like I think I told you, I got married like super young.
Right.
I really didn't have that much experience. I'm assuming she didn't either, but that's not none of my business. But
Right.
a lot of y'all gonna hate the fact I said that. A lot of y'all guys watch. What do you mean, Jay? Are you married or it's none of your business? Anyway,
Right.
um, so she, it was based off what she liked. So we would have those but I never felt that I could have that type of communication
Mm-hmm.
with her during that time. So as once I got into other relationships,
Mm-hmm.
I had women actually tell me no, and I think it takes a woman to actually be confident to actually stop you and say, "Hey, this is what I like,
Yes.
and this is how you need to do it." And I think fellas need to do the same thing. Like you can't just
Absolutely.
say like, "Yo," I think Bernie Mac had a joke where he said something like that along those lines. No, I
Mm-hmm.
stop and tell you this is what I like or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I had a woman tell me that she was like, "No, you can't just be, whether me and you stay together or not, when you go into your next relationship, like you can't just be doing this or whatever. This is how, but that was just for her the way she described it. So you
Right.
learn as you go along. Not that you need to
Yes.
be explore with a million guys or a million women,
Right.
but she had enough confidence to actually tell me that that's
Mm-hmm.
what you like, and I think it takes that comfort for you
Yes.
to actually talk, because some people are just shy. They just want to jump right in the sack and
Right.
just, hey, what is it? Throw something up against the wall and hopefully it sticks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And for lack of a better term,
Right.
and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you didn't, hey, stay up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? No
Good
pun
luck.
intended. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel like a lot of issues can be resolved if you just talk to your significant other, your partner,
Absolutely.
and it's I'm on some I ain't as far, but I'm on some Kevin Gates stuff. It's
Yeah.
my job to make you feel electric.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I would hope that a woman, feels the same way. But if you can't communicate, if she's not comfortable, and the same thing
Mm-hmm.
with men, if you're not comfortable, you think you're doing something, you're really not. And she
Right.
goes as we discussed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
She'll go and talk to her girlfriend. Can you
Sure
believe?
will.
Can you believe that I had to go home and do this afterwards because this guy
Right.
just did? you know what I'm saying, I had to pull the rolls out or whatever and do because
Yeah.
but you wouldn't tell him, that hey, this is what you were doing. Hey,
Hmm.
I need about 3 minutes more. You know what I
Right.
mean?
There's
Like this
nothing
is
wrong with giving somebody a little direction. Not only that, help them out. Help
absolutely
them
help
help
me out.
you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
Help them help you. None of us are mind readers. None of us are psychic. We all like different things. We're all stimulated different ways, right? Some
correct.
men like some things more. Some men are like, no, I don't really, that feels good, but that's not really don't do it for me. This is what I like.
Right.
Some women, help them help you because they're not going to know because 9 times out of 10 they've never been with you before, or if you're just at a point right where you know yourself more, you're more in tune with yourself because that happens, then you know more of what you like and what you don't like, and that does come with confidence, to be able to express certain things. But to me, if you're really vibing with the person, and this is a relationship, right, we're not just talking about a one-off, but these
Right.
are people, a wife, right? A boyfriend, a girlfriend, a long-term relationship. If you want it to be successful, if you want your sex life to not just be empty,
Yeah.
and you want it to be that deal, then you better open up your mouth, literally and figuratively.
Go
I
ahead
had
now.
to. I had to. It was a perfect time for me to say
Go ahead
that.
now.
But
Yeah.
communicate,
Yeah.
and everything else.
Yeah. So I think this was something that we addressed though. We obviously we're talking about improving passion and things like that.
Right.
So I discussed the triggers earlier.
Yes.
So I think that can definitely be something in terms of bonding,
Mm-hmm.
um, communication sexually, and
Yes.
because like I said, my life's a movie. You know what I'm saying? So I've had,
Right.
and I think that, and this might be the time. And I know you said that we would save the story, but I've had some stories where I'm just like, is this really happening right now? Like, is this,
Right. Give us
like,
the stories.
yeah, no, I'm just saying. So these triggers, obviously, people have different experiences, whether
Yes.
it be with an ex, whether it be childhood trauma, whether it
Yeah.
be that R word and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
which is a real thing that we don't think
Yes.
about. And it could be you're dealing with a promiscuous woman, you're dealing with a promiscuous guy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are triggers for men too, just like women. But I had to
Absolutely.
find that out. Like, you never know. You like, for example, I think the story I was telling you was that a young lady, and I've mentioned this on my channel before. For those of you
Mm-hmm.
who aren't listening, I see heading out. You gotta attach your question. You gotta ask your question. Heading out. Go ahead and ask your question. I see you did the super chat. Appreciate you for that. 4.99.
Mm-hmm.
But we're waiting for your question. Um, I She invited herself over to my house. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And she was seemed for all intents and purposes. I hadn't talked to her for a while, so I just assumed she was ready to go. The story that she related to me before she actually came over
Right.
was that she pleased herself several times that
Mm-hmm.
day. So she was like, I'm really the term she used was raw, but she meant emotionally. Because I
Okay.
guess she had to um she was divorced from her husband. She had to not give her kids, but she was attending college or something, or had to do
Mm-hmm.
something, and handed the kids off to the husband. But
Mm-hmm.
she she comes over to the crib, asks can she get in my bed, asks can she stay, and I'm just like, well, shit, you know what I'm saying? Hey, came over there with drinks and all that.
Right.
So we get in bed, and then all of a sudden, getting into spooning, and when you get into spooning, you go for what you know.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, grown
Right.
people, and she's basically like, it's not that type of time. So I'm just like, okay,
Right.
so I just let it be. So the next day when she left, she was like, I'm gonna do this next time I see you, so on and so forth. So I was like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
I get a long text message that night calling me a creepy groper, and I told my ex-husband what type of guy this guy did this, all this crazy stuff, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, so come to find out, she had like a foundation or something where she was that happened to her when she was younger.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Something happened to her, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you guys can fill in the blanks with that. And I didn't know that. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Because I'm just thinking, you told me all this stuff. You're coming over to my house, whatever, blah blah blah.
Right.
that happened. But whether that was a trigger or whatever, I'm just giving that as an example.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things that you have to be mindful of even when you're dealing with a woman who may seem like, and I'm just speaking as far as women go,
Right.
what you may feel like is, you know, whether you're in a relationship or not,
Mm-hmm.
that this may be how you viewed her, but it's not really what she's into, or anything can trigger or bring up,
Right.
things in the past. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You, you can be in the heat of things, and a woman can start crying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, shit. Like, I'm like, what is going
Which
on here?
scare, and you know what? And it scares me, rightfully so, right? It's like, whoa, you know, it's a very fine line with that, JR. With the triggers and stuff, it
Absolutely.
is a very fine line.
Absolutely.
And that's something too that I feel like people have to start opening up their mouth. That goes with the
Right.
communication. Whether it's like, oh, I don't talk about stuff or not. But then, yeah, you can't put somebody into a situation blindly. And okay, you're coming over for what? For cuddles and emotional support. And that's all. I
Right.
should have known that because we grown.
Correct.
You ain't got you don't have the kids. You came over with some drinks. You want to stay the night. You in my bed. You let me get up behind you and cuddle you. I think it's about to go down. And then all of a sudden I'm like this. You're running back and telling your ex I'm a horrible man, right? You need to probably go back to him. And then
Correct.
like all this other stuff. But it's like I had no idea. And really that's not on you. That's not on you. It's her information to say. So if she or kind of could have been like, you know what? The kids are gone. I really want to be with you and spend some time and just kind of like be in your presence. But and I want to stay the night. Sometimes it feels good to lay next to somebody and to sit
Correct.
next to somebody. I want to stay the night, but X, Y, and Z. If she wasn't ready to say whatever happened to her as a child, she could have said, "Hell, I'm on my period,"
Right.
or
Right. Right.
whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or
You shouldn't
I'm
have
just
busted her ass
not.
over here, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just not in the mood for that, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm
Yeah.
just not in the mood for that, but I'm in the mood to be around you. And
Yeah.
then you could have decided then in that moment, then that allows you to make the decision. Am I still going to let her come over? Because you have the right to decide that. Or nah, I want some. And if she's gonna come over here and be laying in my bed next to me, smelling good, looking good, feeling good, I can't handle that right now. So that gives you, the space to make the decision and say, oh, okay, well, why don't I meet you somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you coming over here, why don't I meet you somewhere? Or why don't I come over there or whatever? Or heck, if you want to make up something, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I got to get up early. Like, I can't if you didn't want that in your space. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't want
Right.
to be teased like that, because even though they're not trying to tease you, it is. But yeah, that's something that people still, we're adults, we're grown. We have to open up our mouths and share that with people, especially when it comes to any sexual triggers, right? I
Right.
think that's something that you need to tell somebody like, hey, not necessarily on the first date, but like we're saying in a relationship or you guys have been talking for a second, like, hey, I want you to know that this happened, or that I used to, or this happened, or hey, sex is important to me because my man used to get mad at me and he knew I was like sexually, I had like a high sex drive. So he would purposely like not give me none or whatever,
Right.
or,
Right.
would
Right.
call me names or slut shame me because I wanted it. So if you say certain stuff, it may trigger me. I think that's all
Right.
very important. Sexual triggers are very real, but it's something that you owe it to your partner, your significant other, to open up and share that with them. And if you don't trust them to share that, then you don't need to be with them.
Absolutely. Dope, man. It's like I said, I'm gonna bring up this other situation here, but I'm gonna answer this question here. Heading out, ask this question, and I'm gonna get your input on this too, Avery.
Okay.
So, hi, JR. Is it selfish of me to prefer a guy that has erectile dysfunction so he doesn't worry? I'm not. I'm just. Hey, y'all know what type of channel I have, so I'm not laughing at you. I'm just,
Oh no, I'm not laughing at you either.
yeah, yeah. He has ED, so he doesn't worry me much about giving him sex all the time. I'm in my
Mhm.
40s and I just prefer oral sex. Um, you know, if what can he? I mean, you want a guy who's not able to perform, so he doesn't bother you. So
Mhm.
basically, my question is, if you want a guy to only give you oral sex, is that the type of time you're on? Are you willing to reciprocate that? And if that's the
Right.
case, you need to let him know that, hey, I'm not into, it's just not my thing, in
Mhm.
terms of having, you know, penetrating sex, if you will. I'm just
Right.
into oral sex. Hey, but if you're just like, nah, this is just a unilateral thing, I'm the queen, and you're gonna do this and nothing's gonna happen here, then that's different. But I'm pretty
Right.
sure you might be able to find a guy that's
Yeah.
willing to do that. You can kind of, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I used to do chats way back when,
Hmm.
and there are, I've talked about this topic like years ago on,
Okay.
when I used to do live streams, where there are many women who say that they've never had an orgasm in
100%.
with penetrating sex. Is usually oral sex.
Uh-huh.
So, you can kind of, if you want to weigh in on this, I'm gonna leave you to it real quick. I'm gonna step out real quick.
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to this question, I do not feel that you have to prefer a guy that has ED, because there may be some other men, in this space that are just like you, and they're like, well, no, I, get my pleasure, or I'm stimulated from oral as well, right? So I don't feel that it has to be a man with ED, because you have a man with ED who's taking that little blue pill, right? And then you're in a world of trouble if that's not what you like. So it's the same thing as being on the same, on the same playing field, being on the same page when it comes to sex, and being with somebody that you're sexually compatible with, for sure. And when it goes to the whole, I don't know if it has anything to do with your age, the whole oral, a lot of women do not receive a heightened sense of pleasure from penetration, right? It depends on like where their spot is, their G spot, or the whole anatomy down there. And that is a very real thing. So they receive their maximum pleasure from oral. That doesn't mean that you're broken or whatever. And we also have to realize that, guys, when it comes to like the whole sex thing, a release or an orgasm, you can have amazing sex without an orgasm. And some people don't understand that. But if you really look more into it, you can feel pleasure and feel whatever and never necessarily reach that type of orgasm. But you can have it in other ways, right? It's not always the actual release in the same way for everybody. No matter what you watch or whatever, we know that that's not all real life. So it's different from everybody. But no, when it comes to the whole, oral thing, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with you only wanting that right now. Like I said, I don't think it has anything to do with your age or whatever, but there are a lot of men who love doing that, right? But it can't be one-sided, like JR said. You can't just be like, oh, okay, I just want you to do that for me, and I'm not going to reciprocate. So if you're with if you like oral and that's big for you, and you find somebody that you're sexually compatible with and they also like oral, that's what y'all gonna be. If you want them to do it, that's what you're gonna be doing as well. So yeah, it can't be one-sided. And there are definitely men who love doing that. If that's what you like receiving. And like I said, there is nothing wrong. A lot of women don't receive like a full blown out orgasm or whatever you want to call it, because there's different types of orgasms from penetration. It's actually like a norm.
Right. Like I said, I just was introduced to all this stuff
Yeah.
after marriage. So it's funny how, after I got out of when I got divorced, I started learning all this stuff. And on that chat that night, I was like, man,
Right.
I didn't know that so many women,
Yes.
and just recently this year, I've heard several women that said that
Hmm.
they've never had an orgasm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is to me, that's bewildering. You know
A
what I'm
lot of
saying?
women, I am telling you, JR, it's normal for a lot of women. And there's other reasons, which I don't want to get drawn into that, because
Right.
I'm gonna go back to that feminine, but there's a lot of reasons why it's
Yo,
not
what? You said
just,
backstep what?
I don't want to I don't want to go back to the whole feminine energy thing,
Got
but
you.
there's
Okay,
a
yeah.
lot of reasons why. That's another part too, why some women have never had an orgasm. It's not always the men, right? Because some men, it bothers them if they're with a woman they can't have an orgasm. And it's
Fact.
not them, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really just the woman. It's not you. You're not lacking, you're not slacking, but also it's like sometimes there's a mental block, a mental and emotional
Right.
block, because I was like that at one point and it had nothing, wasn't broke or whatever. But yeah, there was something broke, but it was up here. I wasn't connected to my body, so I wouldn't allow myself to feel on a certain level. And also, it's releasing that control. Some women can't because they don't relinquish control. When you
Gotcha.
allow a man to take you to those heights, you have to let go. You have to open up more than
Mm.
just your legs, right? And that's another reason why a lot of women don't have orgasms.
That makes sense though. That
Yep.
makes sense because I have a theory, and like I said, I don't say that. Well, I was, I was able to do this because I'm just so impressive, so on and so
Hmm.
forth. But I've heard that, and like I said, I could have been lied to at the end of the
Right.
day. But lie to me, baby, lie to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's great, but I feel like if that's something that you should definitely, because I think it definitely for a man, if you're in a relationship with a woman, it's definitely going to affect me that you haven't been able to do that. So I'm going
Hmm.
to try my best to communicate to you in terms of doing that. But I feel like I have a theory that you can be garbage as far as a man. The more a woman's into you,
Hmm.
and I know the whole, like you said, the mental block, but I feel like if a woman is, the more she's into you, in my experience, it's
Hmm.
not as difficult for her. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe she just may just enjoy pleasing me. I don't know. But,
Right.
but I firmly believe that you could be garbage in the sack as a man. But if she's into you, it just, it's a possibility that makes it even better as opposed to if she's no longer into you.
Oh,
You
for
know
sure.
what
It
I'm saying?
can't just be physical, right? Like
Right.
it can't just be physical. If you're
Yeah.
really into somebody and you're connected on other levels or whatever, somebody else could have thought that you were trash, right? But to
Mhm.
me, I think it's everything, right? Because
Correct.
we're connected on other levels, and it is literally mind blowing. Where somebody else could be like,
Prime
"What?
example. Remember The Color Purple
Yep,
with Celie and Suge Avery? Suge Avery
yep,
was like, "What? You don't? I mean, what?" She was like, Celie was like, "It's like he's going to the toilet on me." You know what I'm saying?
yeah."
I'm not with it. I'm
Just not
disconnected.
with it, just not there, not
Yeah.
with it. It's just like
Yeah.
whatever. So that's a definitely that's definite. That's just like some people, like if they're not emotionally stimulated by
Mm.
somebody, and mentally stimulated by them, the sex is just like it's empty, right? But the more you're connected on other levels and not just physical, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I want to lock this down, right? Because I need
Right.
all of this. It's like intense on another level. It's not
Fact.
just, I've never had anything like this. And
And
it
many
keeps
people
getting
don't
better.
get to experience, even men don't get to experience that either, though.
Right.
And just to say that, but I know for women to not be able just to experience that, but men don't really that and I'm gonna throw the divine in there, the
Mm-hmm.
divine connection in terms of that, where it's just like, oh my goodness, it's fireworks, socks blown off, you know,
Right.
uh, you know, all these incredible things, neurons firing, everything's going off.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's one of those things that's, I think we as men, instead of just looking at, well, I got mine, man, you know what I'm saying? I don't care really what she's got going on at the
Right.
end of the day. It's you owe it to her, at least attempt, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah, but
don't
also if she's not telling you, and that goes back to communication, like, yeah, attempt, but if she's not opening up and telling you, or vice versa, what she likes and dislikes, don't run yourself ragged trying to, figure it out if she won't say. And then because that can affect your ego as a man. Like, dang, like I can't even please her, right? And
mm,
she's just letting you sit up there and guess. Like, nope, that ain't it. That ain't it. But we'll make sure to let you. Well, you know what's really funny? We'll make sure to let you know. So women do communicate, and we'll talk about it. We will let you know though if you're not doing something right, but we might not tell you what to do
how, yeah, what to do, yeah.
and how to do it and what we like. But we'll, especially if we're getting an argument or want to be petty or want to go talk to our girlfriends, we'll emasculate you when it comes to that, instead of being like, babe, like this is this, that. So it's like you can open your mouth and tear them down, but you can't open your mouth and give them some directions.
Yeah, give
Give
the
them a
proper
little
direction.
assistance.
Baby, tell me what I need to do, baby.
Yes.
I mean, the thing I think that, and we can go to the whole spiritual, biblical, or just procreating, that term in
Hmm.
general. But it's so simple for men. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I felt like if it was dependent on a woman to climax, if
Right.
you will, They'll
Mm-hmm.
be the end of the human race. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah. So and I'm not trying to be funny. I just feel like
Yeah.
for men, it's just it's so it's so easy. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? It's not like a okay, she has to be,
Mm-hmm.
you can not be attracted to a woman,
Yep.
right? You cannot even be attracted to your wife or significant other, but you can still make it work. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And, at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day, and I just feel like women, especially in this space, is just looked at. Well, I really don't care what she's got going on. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I take it personal. I always did take it personal. If I couldn't, and it was just always my goal.
Right.
So
And
I
there's
feel
nothing
like,
wrong with that. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, as me, if that's important, you want to make sure it's like, like, dang, what am I not, because it makes you feel good. You know what I'm saying? It makes you feel good when you're making that person feel good.
mm-hmm,
Like, if I was with a man and like never could release, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Never could, whatever, couldn't make his toes curl or whatever you want to call it, right?
right.
Like, that would be damaging to me, right?
Mm.
Because that actually, and not to put my business out there,
That's
but that's
impossible though.
but yeah, it's a turn on for me, right? It's a
Yeah.
turn on for me to know that I can please you, and that I can help you release and get everything off or whatever. Like, that makes me feel good. So
Mm.
I mean, it would definitely bother me. And
It,
that's how I've had to look at it when as I was been evolving, is like, okay, well, how would you feel if you went to go touch your man and he was like, oh, not right now. Like, I don't want to be touched, or I don't feel like it. I would be like, oh my God, he doesn't love me, he doesn't want me, he's not attracted to me. And women don't put, a lot of times we don't put ourselves in other people's shoes, so we don't see it like that.
right.
Or if I was just like, no, if he was like, no, I didn't, I didn't have the big O, or I didn't,
Come on,
if you
you
knew
can't.
he
And the thing about men, we can't lie about that though. You
didn't.
know
No,
what
you
I'm saying? We
can't.
can't lie, and women say, you faked it. A man cannot fake it. It's just,
No, you
I
can't at all.
mean, you can lose interest in that, which I guess women do
Yeah.
take offense to that if you just catch a flat tire, as I like to call it. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? They do take offense to that, but I mean, sometimes, it could have been a late night, and it's just about communicating. Like
Hmm.
you, for example, me, I shouldn't be doing anything when I just got through eating, which is
Right.
what people tend to do. That you go to the club, you go out to eat, you get something to eat, then you go home, you
Hmm.
had some drinks, and that's definitely not the best time to be doing something like that. You got
Right.
a full stomach, and it's just your digestive process is working and stuff like
Right.
that, and it's just like nah, you know what I'm saying?
What's a physical activity, right? It's like exercise. You
Right,
didn't go eat and then go,
right.
run sprints or play basketball or go
But people
boxing or
typically
whatever.
they typically do that though, and they wonder
Yeah.
why they have a bad performance or something can't isn't going well because
Hmm.
it's like 1 or 2 in the morning,
Yep.
which is demon time hours,
Well, ain't nothing, lots of it isn't awake at 1 and 2 o'clock.
yeah, yeah. So it's like demon time hours, but it's a lot of times it's the worst time for a man
It
to be
is.
doing something like that. You know
It
what I'm saying?
is.
At those times, and you wonder why. So that's also communication as well to
Hmm.
communicate at times, which you shouldn't be setting a schedule like,
Right.
hey, let's meet up at 5 o'clock and it's planned or whatever like that. Nah, but it's things that I think that people don't take
Hmm.
into consideration with these things, and the reason why this may be going on. The same thing with the one,
Right.
as you said, a woman. You want to, as soon as a woman comes in the door, you know what I'm saying? As soon as you
Hmm.
walk in the door, you expect, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, she's got kids, she's got this going on. She may
Right.
not even hopped in the shower yet.
Right.
Woman wants to feel clean. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But dudes, we don't give a, we trying to, and she may not even feel like that, which affects how she feel. But men, a lot of times we don't think,
Yep.
especially the younger we are, we don't think about stuff like that.
You don't. And you
You know?
gotta, just be like, she's like, hey babe, no, I want to feel fresh. I want to
Right.
feel fresh. You're like, girl, okay, you just worked out. But if she cares,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That's going to affect her performance, because she's going to be like, oh my God, I feel gross. I'm sweaty, whatever. Like, I don't want to do this. So she's not really going to be into it. But if you want that whole wop, let her get in the shower. No.
I used to have to make a woman get in the shower. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
no, we're not doing that. No,
Yeah.
you didn't.
Yeah, she would work out and then she would
No,
just
you
get in
didn't.
bed. I
JR,
was
I'm not
just
listening to that. You didn't have
like,
to make no woman get in the shower before she was with. No, you
yeah.
didn't. because
Yeah.
I don't understand that. That's foreign to me. I don't understand that. I
No. There's a lot of stuff out there
No,
that goes
we are
on.
not doing that. You guys, we're out. We should end this right here. I am not doing this because you don't even want to hear what I have to say. There
Yeah.
is no time where a man should have to make a woman get in the shower. If anything, he should be like, dang, why you get in the shower again? Your skin gonna dry out. There
Right.
is absolutely no time. I don't believe in a woman running around all day and then you go and get in that bed with that man and you didn't get your
Yeah.
hot
Like
pot in the shower.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no, I cannot believe that. I don't even want to listen to that. No.
Yeah. I like to be. I like to be clean. So you need to be cleaner than me.
I
And
actually work out. I mean, I actually shower sometimes before, a lot of times before I work out. I've posted about it on Instagram.
right.
People are like, why are you showering before you work out
Yeah.
or whatever? I did it this morning because I like to have a clean sweat.
I don't.
Right? I don't like feeling that sticky feeling. I just like to have like a clean sweat. So
I
like
hate
I
that.
shower before I work out. Ain't no way I'm going to work out and run around and take off. And most time women wear tight leggings.
Yeah.
You wearing some tight leggings and got your whole honey pot up in there sweating and everything. You think you gonna climb your
Yeah.
nasty behind on top of me?
Yeah. But I think that's where men, just like women, need to train men. Some men have to train women. Because this woman, I was like 5 years older than her. Not to say, but still, you should still know. But some dudes are just like some women are used to dealing with dudes with dirty fingernails, and you're
Oh, I
touching
hate
her in
them people
all
with dirty fingernails.
you touching her in all the secret places. They got
Look,
plaque.
you haven't washed your hands.
Yeah, you got plaque all up in your teeth and all this
Yep.
stuff like that, and you're kissing all on this woman. Vice versa, you got women that got that stuff, and I just can't deal with filth in terms of stuff like that. Which
No.
is something people may be comfortable, some people may be uncomfortable with that, but they're afraid to tell. Like, because when I was just like you just said that, like, no, you didn't just tell a woman. Yes, I did. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna
Yeah, I
tell
believe
you.
you had to, but the sad part is that you had to. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like I feel like you shouldn't even had to tell her that because it should be a given. Like, hey, I'm gonna be with. Let me get in the shower. Let me be
yeah.
clean for him. You know,
Or did I?
like
Did I tell you the other one where she took a shower, then took another shower before I got, and then I fell asleep on her. You know what I'm
yep,
saying? Because it was just that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? But
right.
she just, and I guess what might have triggered, going back to trauma or
Uh-huh.
trigger, that might have triggered rejection within her. That this guy just, I've been rejected like this before,
Mm-hmm.
and I just can't get over the fact that this guy didn't lay me down.
Right.
I got in the shower, I got all cuddled up to him, and this dude fell asleep on me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there was expectations, but there were, I guess, implied expectations, and I ended up getting ghosted.
Right. And I told you, which is crazy, that to me, because I know those people, like most people cannot sleep, like you know, around everyone or whatever. And you talked to me about like the dinner, you know, like everything. And I felt like, hey, she created a space and environment for you that was relaxing. It was
Right.
peaceful. You had been fed and everything like that. And you're like, dang, you know, let me get comfortable, right? Let me put my feet up. And you were relaxed and you fell asleep. It wasn't because you didn't want her. It
Right.
wasn't because you weren't attracted to her.
Not at
It
all.
was like, woman, you created a whole environment for me. Like when people say be his peace. You know what I'm saying? You made me feel comfortable enough that I could lay my head down in your home, in your space, and because when you're asleep, your guard's down. You know what I'm saying? You
Mm-hmm.
fall asleep, you fed me, you know what I'm saying? Like filled my belly and everything like that. Like, girl, I could crawl up in here and go to sleep. But
But
she saw this rejection, and like me, I'm like, well, it could have been, you know, when you create that space, a man's comfortable is like, I got some good food, you know, the music, the setting, everything. I'm about to go to sleep. So, and that's the thing, it's a trigger, but it also is an expectation. Like, how do you view that? You know?
right. Right.
Yep.
So I know we've been on here 2 hours. We've been rocking. Yo, we put out some fire information here tonight. We've been talking, even delved into, you guys communicating just overall.
Yes.
Anything you wanted to add before we check out here, Avery? I know we probably skipped over a few things that we meant
I
to
feel like
discuss.
I've talked enough, and like, we'll be back, we'll be back or whatever. I definitely feel people should check this out, share it, whatever. We talked about some real stuff. We even had some little jokes, but it's all real. It's stuff that should hopefully like add, explain. You guys were able to give your, give your 2 cents. I was looking in the chat and everything like that. But no, I really don't, I don't really have anything else to say other than relationship expectations and sex and roles and what you want and what you don't want and what you don't like is very important. You have to talk about it. You have to talk about it. You cannot get into a relationship and not discuss that stuff. And of course, it will change as life happens. What you expect 1 month, it may be different, you know what I'm saying, depending on what happens with life. But
Right.
you don't take a job without knowing what you're supposed to be doing. Right?
Absolutely.
You don't do that. You just can't show up for work and be like, oh, I guess I'll do this today. If that's not what you're supposed to be doing, if that doesn't meet the goal, if that doesn't get the job done, if that's not what you were hired for and all of that, then don't do it. Do what's asked of you. Or, it has to be clear. It has to be clear. Don't feel bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, open your mouth. If you can open up your legs, you can open up your bank account, you can do all this other stuff. Well, we're so open with other stuff, but then we don't want to talk and communicate, right? But we'll talk to other people. Talk, communication, just talk about your expectations, lay down the groundwork, whatever. And if you're in a situation where your needs are not being met and you're not feeling fulfilled, you have a right to exit stage left.
Well said, Avery. Communication, most definitely.
Communication and sex. No, I'm kidding.
And sex. Yeah.
That's everything. No.
Yeah. Keeps it exciting, keeps the stress off,
Yeah.
So if we don't have any calls, the lines were open. I know we've been on here for 2 hours. We were trying to keep this down to an hour, but definitely got some good content out. Make sure you guys, as you part, or if you're watching the restream, hit that like button right now. Yes. Hit that subscribe button. Also subscribe to Avery's channel. All the links are in the description of this video. Make sure you guys do that right now. It doesn't cost you a thing. We're going to try to come at you with episodes like this weekly for you guys to tune into, give y'all some good information. Make sure you share it. Make sure you tell your friends about this or someone that you feel like it'll be a benefit to. Absolutely. And we're here to talk about a lot of the exciting topics and the taboo topics that a lot of people may not be willing to talk about, or content creators, so on and so forth, or that your mom, father, aunties, uncles, your besties may not even be talking about. So we're here to give it to you. So with that being said, man,
give it to you raw.
Yeah, give it to you raw. No chaser. You know what I'm saying? And all that. You know what I mean? And much peace and blessings upon you. I appreciate you guys for rocking with us this evening. With that being said, we're gonna catch you guys. Make sure you tune in every Tuesday. Y'all see the title. If you haven't, it is right here. Let's talk about it. And feel free to drop a line to any one of us if you have any topics you like us to discuss as well. Be glad to talk about that, man. It's been great. I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. With that being said, we're gonna catch you guys on the next one. So
have an amazing week.
Absolutely. So, hey, yeah, I'm out of here. All right. You guys have a good night. Peace.